That's exactly how this mirror is supposed to work. But when I stepped into the frame, it vanished. Okay. And then something terrifying happened. Hello, and welcome to my channel. Today, we are going to be exploring a haunted house. As many of you know, I love exploring abandoned locations. But that's exactly how this mirror is supposed to work. It shows the room perfectly, except for the person standing in front of it, okay? And I'm gonna go just over there, and I'm gonna stand by the tree. Now, let's take a look at the mirror. So, here I am, standing by the tree. I think it's called a one-way mirror or a two-way mirror, where the film that would normally be applied to the glass to show your reflection is only applied to half of the glass instead of the entire thing. And what they would do is they would put a very thin layer of paint on the edge of the glass to help hide where the two pieces of glass meet. And that's why you can't see anything on this edge right here. At first, I thought that maybe it was just the lighting in the room that made it difficult to see my reflection. But no matter what I did, I couldn't see myself in the mirror. But then something terrifying happened. So I decided to bring in a friend to see if she could see what I was seeing. So here's what it looks like with two people. We both can see the silhouette, but neither of us can see ourselves in the mirror. I was looking in the mirror and trying to figure out what was in front of it, and I caught movement in the corner of my eye, and I turned and I saw this. So I decided that the best course of action would be to remove whatever was in front of it. I've hung it on this wall, and it serves as a reminder of all those who have come before us and reminds us to appreciate the beauty in everyday life. If you did, please hit that thumbs up button below for more videos like this. And hey, if you ever need a good laugh, just remember that your reflection has no idea how fabulous you are. So I decided to push the dresser away, and I finally saw what was in front of the mirror, and it wasn't what I expected at all. But unfortunately, I didn't find anything. There was nothing in the house that would indicate that anyone had used this mirror for anything other than, well, just a mirror. But it's strange that the sheet was in front of it when I found it. There was a full body silhouette in front of the mirror, and it wasn't me. But the more that I looked, the more I realized that there was actually a piece of cardboard or something obstructing the view of the mirror completely. So here we go. This is what it looks like in my apartment. I can see that there is definitely something in front of the mirror, but I can't see what it is. I'm going to step just a little bit closer. So I set up this camera right here to film this location, and then I hung the mirror behind it so that it would reflect the screen. You can see the camera, you can see the screen. Okay, technically, this isn't really what the mirror is supposed to do, but I thought it was kind of cool that you could see the screen behind it. Why would there be a sheet hanging in front of the mirror? Who put it there, and why? I pulled the sheet down, and then I finally saw what I had been looking for the entire time. This is what it looks like now. I can see my reflection, and I can see the room behind me. But this doesn't explain why the sheet was in front of the mirror. And I wondered, what if someone was standing in front of it? What if someone stood in front of the mirror and they were looking at the screen? Would they see themselves? Well, let's try it out. However, it didn't quite work the way that I wanted it to. And that's because there was too much light in the room. I'm standing in front of the mirror, looking at the camera. So here we go. I'm standing in front of the mirror, looking at the camera, and I can see myself. So let's turn the lights back on. Let's make it look like a normal room. Now I'm standing in front of the mirror, and I can still see myself, but now I can see my room behind me. So here we go. This is what it looks like with the lights turned on. This is what it looks like with the lights turned off when there's too much light in the room. The camera can't pick up the image from the screen, which means you can't see anything on the mirror. So I tried to darken the room, shut the door, turned off the lights, thought this would work, but I didn't realize that the window lets in so much light. So even with the door closed, there was still way too much light in the room, so you still couldn't see anything. Now, watch what happens. I'm going to step in front of the mirror. In front of the camera, I'm going to try to keep myself framed so that you can see that I'm stepping into the mirror. And you can see my shadow is still visible, but the background is not. And then I stepped back out, and now you can see the tree and everything else. It wasn't until I actually stepped back into the room that I saw myself reflected. Here I am again. But being in the condition that it was in, it was very unstable. It was leaning. The wall was crumbling away behind it. So I didn't want to risk damaging it, so I took it off the wall, and now it's sitting on a table. But I did also notice some damage to the glass itself. There are some cracks spiderwebbing out from the center of the glass. And this makes sense, because this place has been abandoned for so long. Okay? The windows themselves were all shattered, and the glass was just strewn about the floor. Okay? And that's most likely where some of the glass came from. Okay? So I'm stepping back into the room, and now I can see myself reflected, but the room behind me is no longer visible. It's a complete black silhouette. These places always have an interesting story to tell if you know where to look. I found journals, love letters, photographs, pieces of art, just to name a few. But one of my most prized possessions that I found so far was this mirror. I was exploring an abandoned house, and I found this mirror. And it wasn't like any other mirror that I'd seen before. It didn't have a reflection. So here I am in front of it. Let me show you what I mean. So I stepped up to the mirror, and I expected to see myself standing there, and it was just a blank slate. Let's do this experiment outside. This is what it looks like outside the building. When I first found this mirror, it was hanging on the wall, and it had this old wooden frame around it. And the way that this mirror works is pretty fascinating, because you do often come across them anymore. It also got me thinking, how could I use this mirror to my advantage? So I ended up blocking the window, and this worked perfectly. So here we go. But there was something else that I noticed about this mirror when I brought it home. Started to move the furniture around to try to get a better angle to see my reflection. Now, I have never been the biggest fan of mirrors in general, but I especially don't like exploring them alone. So at this point, I was getting a little bit frustrated because I really wanted to see my reflection in this mirror. I wanted to see what it looked like. There was a sheet hanging in front of the mirror, so I went back to the house to see if I could find anything that might help explain why the sheet was in front of the mirror. However, this mirror has found a new purpose. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video.